that's the concern for special events, and how you can raise money without special events, 7 key ideas of good fund development, and our speakers will conclude with how coaching can help you to survive and thrive in challenging times. So let me take a moment and introduce our speakers. First, we have Haren, and she is our vice chair at ECofOC. Haren was the former CEO of Harvesters Community Food Network, where she has raised $100 million during her tenure. You heard it right, that's $100 million. And she has a long list of highly valued accomplishments in the nonprofit world. She has many specialties: mission-driven strategic planning, performance management, leadership development, succession planning, fundraising, community engagement, board development, capacity building, and organizational effectiveness. Haren, thank you for being here. Our other speaker is Monica Horner, and Monica was the Director of Strategic Giving at the Second Harvest Food Bank, where she personally solicited all major gift donors above $5,000. And she worked with board members, the CEO and her development team to fundraise over $5 million annually, plus she raised $8.5 million for a capital campaign. Monica comes with 13 years of experience as a professional fundraiser. So for our attendees, here's how to participate in this webinar. Please take a moment and locate and open the Q&A window in your Zoom window. There's going to be a little icon that's in there. And that's going to allow you to type in your questions to our speakers. And so during the talk, you can type in all the questions that you'd like. And you can also check, there's a box where you can send your questions anonymously if you do not want your name attached to your questions. And when our speakers are complete with their talk, we will go over the questions and they will answer as many as we have time for. So with that, Haren and Monica, thank you for doing this. You have the floor.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is a topic that we, both Monica and I, really enjoy discussing: fundraising. And recently, in many of our coaching conversations, we have had people raise questions about special events, what to do about special events, and concern about events that were happening in the spring, but also now events that would be scheduled into the fall timeframe. And some of those spring events have actually been moved into the fall timeframe. So as we thought about this and talked a little bit about special events, we thought maybe this would be a good conversation for our first coaching conversation to discuss how do we deal with special events, and can we raise money beyond special events? So this is a very challenging time, both for fundraising, but especially for special events. Given that we're under stay-at-home orders and there can't be gatherings, it makes it very challenging to hold an event. And I know some organizations have considered going to virtual events or delaying events, as I said, into the fall. You know, if it is possible that we can have events in the fall, there are going to be so many of them. There are just going to be lots and lots of special events. So we Monica and I put our heads together and we said, you know, maybe this is an opportunity while we are on kind of a pause with special events to look at special events as a fundraising means. We do special events for many reasons. Many times it's for public relations. It can also build awareness about our organization and our mission. It can be for all sorts of purposes. But in my experience, events tend to take on a life of their own. And we continue to perpetuate them, even though they may not be an effective fundraising tool. So even in the best of times, there are some challenges with special events. First of all, events tend to be labor intensive. They tend to require a lot of staff time, and many times that staff time is not included when we think about the costs for an event. Secondly, many times with events, we don't develop or secure the contact information that we need to develop ongoing relationships with those donors. So someone might come to a gala, they might come to a golf tournament, a luncheon, and they've bought a ticket, so some way we have generated funds through that activity, but many times we don't capture their contact information. We don't find ways to renew that relationship and renew that gift and secure the second gift or third gift. So it becomes a one-time event or a one-time gift. We also many times don't tailor the ask when we make an ask through a special event. So we don't know the capacity of that donor, and we don't know their interest in our mission and our purpose. So we might have a $500 auction item purchase from someone who could actually probably give us $50,000. There's also the opportunity cost of special events. That staff time that I mentioned up above, it normally takes tons of staff time to do special events. And the opportunity cost, what is lost is how could that staff time be used for other fund development activities? So we're maybe not doing research on our prospects, we're maybe not writing grants, we're maybe not asking for larger gifts, because that time, that staff time, is devoted to planning special events. So while we're in this opportunity, I think we always have to look at these things as an opportunity. While we're here and there is somewhat of a pause on special events, we wanted to take that time to think about what are the good principles of fund development and what could we share with you in terms of both special events, but really beyond special events. What are some of those good key tips on good fund development that will put you in good stead for fundraising and fund development now and into the future? So our first tip is don't stop. Don't stop your fundraising. Many times when we go into a crisis kind of situation, we think, wow, maybe we need to pull back. Maybe we need to not make requests. And unemployment is up. The stock market is down. There's way more requests out there at this point in time to foundations and to corporations. All of that's irrelevant. Don't stop your fundraising. If you are in a capital campaign, don't stop the capital campaign. If you do, you will be way behind. So you want to keep your fundraising efforts going. Our second point is focus on your mission. Back when I was talking about special events, you're not raising money for a golf tournament. You're raising money for your mission. And every gift that you receive is a commitment to your mission. So you want to continue to focus on your mission and how can you raise funds for the mission. And staying in touch with that will help you look at ways to generate the funds that your organization needs to make that mission happen. Because we know, all of those of us who work in the nonprofit world, without the money, without the funding, there is no mission. So fundraising, fund development activities are really key to your being able to fulfill your mission. So I'd like to turn it over to Monica for the next of our tips, our points.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Karen. As Ernest mentioned, I'm formerly with Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County, and I was their development director for several years. Currently, I am the development director at Giving Children Hope. And so the third point at Giving Children Hope, we have definitely stepped that up since coronavirus. We were doing that prior, but we are doing much more communication with our donors and our board since the pandemic hit. So I just want to encourage everyone to please share your mission and all of the new things that you're doing with your donors, with your board, with your volunteers, and any stakeholders you may have. They want to know what's happening to those that you serve. Share your challenges and your stories about the people and the impact that you are making and the response that you're giving at the time as well. These are unprecedented times, so please don't be shy about communicating. Number 4, don't make decisions for your donors. Your donors will let you know when the time is right. Listen for cues, look for cues from your donors as well. Just pay attention to how often they'd like the communication from you. When you're making an ask, listen to those cues because, as we all know about the touch points, you want to have at least 7 touch points with your donor before you make an ask. So listen to your donor. Number 5, ask for what you need to do it right. Don't ask for less than what you need because these are difficult times. And these are, times when we might need a little bit more. We might need things from areas that we don't typically ask our donors for. So don't be shy about that. Remember that your donors want you to fulfill your mission. So be a good steward of the resources the donors give you as well. Let's see, I think we are, I have number 6, adapt to the times. So again, these are unprecedented times where you would normally make an ask in person. You may now make it over the phone or via Zoom. Just realize that times have changed, things are changing, and donors, their time is very precious too. So they may only have a few minutes for an email or a call, and that's completely fine. Again, communicate with your donors and adapt to the times. Karen, do you want to take on number 7?
Yes. Our last point is really one about leadership. And our leadership for fund development is part of what we're talking about here. And leaders always look for opportunities. Even in a crisis situation such as we are in now, there are always opportunities. And I think to think about what can we learn from this current situation that we're all in, and what can we do differently going forward. And we discussed that there may be an opportunity to use more effective means of fundraising instead of perpetuating events that may not be the best fundraising approach. So as a leader, there's always opportunities, and think about what those opportunities might be. Okay, Monica.
Yes. So now you have the opportunity. For those of you who may not know what ECofOC is, I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. Many of you, though, do know what ECofOC is. You are clients. So for those of you who would like to know a little bit more, I will share that right now. So ECofOC started about 17 years ago. Bob Cryer, who was a retired executive at the time, noticed that while he was doing his volunteer work, while he was in retirement, and he was sitting on several boards, he realized that there was a gap in services, that the heads of the organizations that were of the nonprofits were in need of not only more funding, but consulting services. And so that was where the idea of ECofOC was born. And so with the help of SCORE and 10C and OCCF, Orange County Community Foundation, ECofOC came together. And he also noticed that there were volunteers just like himself others out there who were retired executives, and they were willing to give back their time, and they had that expertise such as IT, board management, business skills, and so that's how the idea was born. The ECofOC provides one-on-one coaching, executive coaching for nonprofit professionals in Orange County. And so that means that our services are free as well to the nonprofit community. So if you are in management and nonprofit, then you are eligible for our free coaching services. Now, coaching involves several things. One of them is trust and respect, of course. A second key is confidentiality. What goes on and the conversations that go on between the coach and the client are completely confidential. So you can rest assured that no one will be talking to your coworkers or your boss about the situations or the things that come up in conversation. So a lot of the topics that our clients bring to us include management, of course, fundraising is one of them, as well as conflict resolution. That's another big one. Board development, setting goals and objectives as well. So just a variety of topics. Sometimes the topics are personal and they can be very heavy. So humor is definitely a big part of coaching. You know, we all know that we carry large loads with us in nonprofit, and so coaching is one way to sort out problems and think about some resolutions, because coaching is about drawing out information from the client. That information resides typically within the client. It's not about the coach telling the client what to do, or sometimes there's resources that are brought about from coaches to clients, but it's typically within, the answers are typically within the client. So I think that's kind of the fun part about coaching for me, is seeing that change and seeing the clients reach their goals as well. So how does one go about getting a coach? Well, there we have a website, it's ECofOC.org. And so you just log on to the website and there's a blue tab. And on that blue tab, you can see bios of all of our coaches. So I highly encourage you to go on there and read all of our bios, or all of our coaches' bios, and see which one connects with you. If you'd like, if you do see one that connects with you, you can write down their name in the application. Doesn't always mean that you're going to get connected with that particular coach, as most of our coaches typically have a large load of clients, but for those, you never know, maybe there might be an opening for that particular coach. So definitely put their name down. And if you don't get that particular coach, we have a wonderful coach named Adrienne who pairs all of the potential clients with our coaches. And so she bases that on the information that you provide in the coaching application. So we want to encourage everyone who goes on that, who types their information on that coaching application, to be as thorough as possible and as detailed as possible on your needs, and also on the things that you're looking for, your goals as well. Let's see. I think that's about it in regards to ECofOC. I just kind of wanted to give you a brief overview. Again, I know that many of you are already clients, so I didn't want to go into too much detail, but if there are any questions now, I'd be happy to answer them.
Karen and Monica, we have 2 questions so far from our attendees. And by the way, anybody else who would like to type in your question, now is a good time to do it within the question and answers little panel there. So the first question is, what advice do you have for very small nonprofits that don't have a development staff member or team?
This is Karen. I'll give that a first response. I think the important thing is to think about your mission and who cares about that mission. So, who potentially would care about that you're serving people who are homeless or unemployed, or bringing the arts to disabled people. You know, what is your mission, and who might care about that mission? Many times it could be a recipient of the service that you have offered. It could be a family member. It could be a business that has some affiliation, or a business that is connected to the community, and this is a target population within the community. So you want to think about who might potentially care about this. Then think about, you know, how you tell your story, the communicating that we had talked about earlier. What are your messages? How do you describe what you do? What difference does it make? People give money because they want to make a difference in somebody's life. And whether that is helping to feed someone, helping to shelter someone, whatever it is, they want to make a difference for somebody else. So think about, what is your case? Why would somebody give you those funds? Then I would say to look for anybody who has given you funds. They would be great to talk to ask them, how did you hear about our organization? Why did you want to donate money to our organization? What's important to you about the work that we do? So I think talking and listening to your current donors, everyone that you currently have, helps you build that story about what you're doing and why you're raising the funds.
Monica, anything at your end?
No, I would just say build on what Karen said, and the money will come. And so when it does come, then start to, well, actually before it comes, start to plan, you know, if I had enough money for a staff or even just one staff member, who would it be? It would probably be somebody who wears a lot of hats, right? Because you want to slowly build up your team. But again, tell the story, talk to your donors, just like Karen said, and the money will come. And then once that comes, you can slowly start to build that team. And before you know it, you'll have a full, hopefully full development department.
Thank you, Monica. Question number 2. What are your thoughts on peer-to-peer fundraising on Facebook, especially if the small nonprofit has never done a fundraising campaign before?
I think peer-to-peer fundraising, especially online, is great. I think, especially too, if you don't have that development team or the staff, it's amazing what people can do online. If you have passionate people who are connected to your mission, and it's funny that it just spreads like wildfire. So, you know, all of a sudden you'll be connected to people you've never even met. And so use those as opportunities to connect with those people that you've never met. Try to capture their email information or their phone number or something, or even just a message them via Facebook if Facebook does not provide that contact information. Do what you can to engage them right away. But yeah, peer-to-peer is always great.
Thank you. Karen? Anything?
I agree with what Monica said. It's so important to capture that contact information, to have a way to continue to build the relationship with that prospect or that donor.
Thank you. Question number 3. If a nonprofit has been holding annual galas for many years, what's the best way to redirect the orientation and enthusiasm for alternate means of raising funds?
Well, I think to remember, first of all, that gala was held to raise money for the mission. And it involved people, probably a volunteer base, that helped with the planning and the executing. And sometimes those are peers, like we were just talking about peer online, but it could also be someone sold a table, someone secured auction items. So there's a core of people there that are committed to the mission. And I would look at ways of the mission is still there. The commitment that they had was to the mission. So how could you engage that core of people who worked on a gala? Are there ways that you could engage them to help you sort of shift it towards major gifts? And look at how do you do background and gather information about prospects? How do you make asks? How do you follow through with communicating the messages about your mission? It's kind of shifting gears, but the time that you spend on the event could be spent in a major gift effort to secure the same level of gifts, but not through an event.
Mm-hmm. And I think now is the time to do that, right? Because we can't hold a major event, we can't hold a special event right now. We can't really even have donors coming into our office or our space, whether it's a warehouse or an office or site right now. So now is the time. And so what you can do to kind of transition from a special event to kind of a major gifts program is to figure out what parts of the special event you can transfer over. So for instance, say there was a video that you were going to show at the special event. Well, that can be transferred online. And then maybe you can have another video with the leader of your organization speaking directly to the donors about not only the mission, but about, gosh, now is the time, during COVID-19, we're having to shift things over a little bit. We're asking for your commitment right now, that commitment that you would normally make at the special event. We're asking for that right now to help with our mission. So I think a lot of people are going to be experiencing a shift from special events to kind of the makings of a major gifts program right now.
Thank you. Next question. What type of things can organizations do to to raise funds besides events, especially now?
Well, one idea, I think, and this is kind of more of a cultivation event, and it turns into money later. So it's not quick money right now. But one of the things that we started doing at Giving Children Hope was we started doing tours, monthly tours. And so we would invite donors or anybody who wanted to come, Girl Scout groups, whatever it may be, homeschool groups, we get a lot of those. And so we'd invite them to come to Giving Children Hope to take a tour. And especially, kids love that because they like to see the warehouse and all of the fun things that are going on. It's hard to do right now, obviously. Hopefully one day we'll get back into that. But that's kind of one of the things that we did. We also started an ambassador program where we identified our key volunteers and stakeholders. Some of them were board members, some of them were volunteers. And we said, hey, we'd like for you to represent Giving Children Hope. We will provide you with the speaking points. We will provide you with materials to hand out, because we would get, I'm sure, as all of you know, invited to, speak at presentations or sit at booths, volunteer fairs, things like that. And so there were only so many staff members who were available to do that during the day or in the evening. So these ambassadors kind of served as, dual functions for us. But anyway, they're kind of extensions of staff. So that was one way we were able to engage our volunteers and stakeholders so that their passion for our mission could grow. And we also have seen their dollars continue to grow down the line. So that's one way to do it when things get back to normal, I guess. But also there's virtual volunteer opportunities as well. If you can find anything, if you can be creative and find ways for your volunteers to engage at home in your mission.
I just want to really build on what Monica said about cultivating. And earlier in the discussion, she mentioned 7 points of contact with donors before you make an ask. So I think there's lots of ways to do that. One can be a phone call, you know, touching base, making a phone call, going through your list of donors, calling them up, saying, here's what's happening now. We wanted to update you on how our services have had to change. We wanted to share with you how we're responding to COVID-19 and its impact on those we serve. People are at home right now, so phone calls can be a really effective way to touch base with the donor, listen to the donor. I know in talking to some executives who've made those kinds of phone calls to the donors, a key question that donors are asking now is about basic needs for the people that your organization serves. Almost regardless of what type of service you offer, you know, they're concerned about meeting basic needs for people. And I think that's, given that we're in a public health crisis, high unemployment, there's a lot of factors. So having those kinds of conversations and sharing what your organization is doing right now is, I think, just really, really helpful. And there's lots of ways to cultivate those donors, communicate with the donors. Also, your board members. I would encourage you to think about how board members could be communicate with their circles of influence at what the organization is doing. I know also I know of another executive director who is doing small group video conferences, like almost like a coffee, you know, at 10 o'clock, a small group of donors to do that same kind of updating, cultivating, messaging. And then I think that also can be one of those touch points that later you may be following up with a specific ask, so that you can tailor that ask to that donor.
Yeah, even thank you calls as well.
Yes,
go a long way. I helped organize some of our board members for, you know, making those calls, and it's been great. And I've made those calls personally as well. And also emails are perfectly fine too. I've gotten a lot of great responses back from donors after thanking them via email. And what's great about email though is I was able to connect our YouTube channel in the email, link it up, and also our Instagram, so that our donors can just go straight there. You know, they can sign up directly. It's a little bit hard over the phone to explain the link, but I think that was kind of the value of an email. So they appreciate it, definitely, and they appreciate the call as well.
Thank you. We also received a set of questions offline before the webinar, so I'm going to go through some of them. The first one is, how would you recommend supporting change in a development committee dedicated to fundraising in an old-fashioned way versus digital or virtual events and efforts?
Could you repeat it, Ernest?
How would you recommend supporting change in a development committee that's dedicated to fundraising and looking at two different ways, the old-fashioned way versus the digital or virtual events and efforts?
I guess I would start with being clear about the committees. Like I'd said earlier, I think sometimes what happens is events take on a life of their own and they become what the focus is of that committee. So I think in some ways it would be best to kind of raise it up a little bit to look at a higher level. What does it take to do the services of the organization? And the most effective fund development programs are ones that are diversified. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, even if that, you know, even if you have a very successful special event that's raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, you don't want all your eggs in one basket. So I would talk about a diversified approach using multiple means of bringing in the resources. That can be, online, that can be direct mail, that could be major gifts. I mean, there's many means of bringing in the funds. And to help educate the committee about, there's lots of ways to bring in the funds. I really, in my work as an executive director and working with development committees, I really tried to focus them on being a link and helping our organization to use their circles of influence. And it really gives them something to do. It gives them something to focus on. And how can they, in their circles, what circles are they connected to? It could be their alumni association. It could be their faith organization. It could be, everyone has circles of influence, and they can help spread the message about the mission of the organization. And I really tried to be clear about what those messages were and help the committee to focus on how can we help expand those circles of influence.
Monica, anything at your end?
Nope, she covered it all. Great. I think I completely agree.
Good, okay. So here's the next question. What are the 5 best ways to get donations via the website, social platforms, and or emails to the community?
All of them.
The best way is to, here's what I say. The best way is to get to yes. So you want that donor to say yes and to make a commitment and to give you a gift. That's going to be different. The way to get to that is different. Mm-hmm. And, making a direct ask, like Monica and I have been talking about, major gifts. The concept of major gifts is that you cultivate, that you do your homework and you know the capacity of that donor, and that you make an ask of that donor. So it's everything that you do that gets you to the place of that person making a gift. And it's not just making that gift, it's then acknowledging that gift and hopefully getting the second gift and raising that gift, increasing that gift level. So it really is, I think of it as a circle. It's a wheel. It goes round and round. And a basic of good fund development is developing relationships. I mean, that is what it's all about. So I think there's lots of tools of cultivation. I don't think one is better than another. It's really, how do you get to the place of being prepared to make an ask? And who's the best person to make that ask?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It could be a board member. It could be another volunteer. It could be a different staff member, maybe even somebody in the warehouse, even if you're the development director. It doesn't matter. That's okay. That's the beauty about it. You just need to listen to the donor. Like Karen said, do your homework, research, the more you get to know the donor, the more that you get to know about their family, about their likes, about their dislikes, which is also very important to know. And so it's all about approach, right? And it's about the time too, because sometimes it doesn't always happen overnight. Sometimes, rarely it does, but typically it doesn't. You have to work for it, and sometimes it takes a year or so or more.
Many times it can take way longer. After I retired from Harvesters, I still say we, but they received $1 million gift that we had been cultivating for over 10 years. So we'd gotten other gifts along the way, but they received $1 million gift from a donor that we had identified had the potential to make $1 million gift to us over 10 years ago. So it's a building process.
Thank you. How about one more question? You ready for that?
Sure.
Okay. Do you encourage having a strong brand identity online in all platforms to increase ease of working with a variety of PR tactics digitally for nonprofits?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course. And if you don't have one, now's the time to build one. Because I think all nonprofits are essential. Whether they're essential now or maybe later on down the line when kids go back to school, it just depends. But every nonprofit, I believe, is essential because you're serving the community in whatever capacity. And so, use this time to build your brand. Again, communicate with your donors. If you take anything away from today's presentation, please get out there and communicate with them. We at Giving Children Hope increased our e-blast to our donors and our stakeholders from monthly to weekly. It's normal in normal situations, normal times. It would seem like a lot for us. We don't like to bug people, but you know what? This is our Super Bowl. We do disaster response. And so we have been giving out N95 masks to clinics, doctors' offices, and hospitals, over 5,000 masks, gloves, and gowns. In addition to all of the food that we typically give out, that has increased over 100%. Lots of people are losing their jobs, unfortunately, and so we have a mission to fulfill right now. So that is why we have stepped up our mission. We are essential for sure because we give out food, but even like Boys and Girls Clubs, they have somewhat shifted their mission too. I believe some of them are caring for the children of the first responders now. So they have done a phenomenal job of shifting and pivoting. So I would think in those terms. Now's the time.
And the brand is much more than just a logo. The brand is those key messages. It's the image of the organization. So think of brand in the bigger sense of, it reflects your organization. It reflects your mission. So yes, absolutely. Brand should be consistent. Your messaging should be consistent. Your visual representation of your brand should be consistent.
Thank you. So it's time to conclude the webinar. Karen, any last words to conclude with?
I just want to say, keep fundraising. It really is what makes our missions possible. It makes such a difference for what you can accomplish in the world. And as a leader, and as someone who leads an organization, who fulfills a mission, who helps raise money, keep going. We're here to support you, and we truly are honored that you were able to join our conversation today.
Thank you, Karen. Monica, last words?
Yeah, just utilize your coach, now more than ever. I know it's hard as for those of you at home who have children and you're trying to homeschool them and work at home at the same time. But even if it's just an email or a quick question that you may have, utilize your coach, please, because we're thinking about you, we care about you, and we want to help. So don't be shy. Reach out.
Thank you both for taking the time and doing this. Before we conclude, a word about our next talk. Next week's talk will be moving to the next stage of new normal. And that's going to be presented by one of our executive coaches. That's David Cofero. And he is also a principal at Strategic Advisory Consulting Group. So please watch for our email invitation for next Thursday. And this completes the webinar. See you next Thursday. Bye-bye, everyone.